By the end of this video, you will know how to pronounce, define, and use 10 new words in a sentence. Hello, welcome back to Save Learning. This is the second video in the series. Before we get started, you may want to download the free graphic organizer in the description below to help you take notes. I find vocabulary is easier the more ways you try and remember it. With that, let's get started. So the 10 words that we're going to go over this week start with exuberance, renounced, serenity, dire, elusive, unwieldy, successive, manifestation, adversary, and adept. Let's look at those in detail. First up, we have exuberance. Exuberance is a noun. Exuberance, 4 syllables, exuberance, and its definition is full of energy and cheerfulness. Right? There's this idea of excitement. There's a lot of energy, a lot of happiness, cheerfulness. Really, the opposite of exuberance would be inactivity. Right? Lacking energy, lacking cheer, lacking excitement would be the opposite of exuberance. In our example, the air was filled with excitement, exuberance even, during the newly elected president's speech. So we have our photo here. So this would have been, back in the day with Clinton. There's all this excitement. People are throwing up their hands. Stuff is falling from the ceiling, right? There's a lot of excitement, a lot of exuberance. Exuberance. Next up, we have renounced. Renounced is a verb. It's an action word. Renounced, 2 syllables, renounced. Definition, to formally abandon a prior belief or stance. To abandon a prior belief or stance. And it means to disown. That's a good synonym. To disown, to no longer believe something, to no longer hold that stance as your own. The opposite would be to affirm, right? So if you affirm your stance, you're re-supporting it. You're saying, I still stand here. I still believe this. Rather, to disown or to abandon is to go away from that, to renounce it. In our example, Senator Minerva renounced his position on the new tax policy, saying it's bad for business. So this looks like the senator. He's saying, this policy maybe that he's holding right here, bad for business. So he's renouncing it, abandoning it, saying, I no longer hold this belief, I no longer hold this stance, this tax policy is not good for us. Renounced. Next up, we have serenity. Serenity is a noun. Nouns are people, places, things, or ideas. Serenity is really like this idea. Serenity, 4 syllables, serenity, serenity. Its definition is a calming peacefulness, or the idea that you're free from negativity, right? To be serene, to be tranquil, or tranquility is a good synonym, right? That peaceful state of mind. The opposite would be like dread. When you're fearing something, when there's dread, when you're worrying, there's no serenity, right? Serenity is peacefulness, peace of mind. Our example, I find serenity, or peace, only after my first cup of coffee for the day. This is totally me, right? So before coffee, this is what we look like. It's kind of dreadful. And then after coffee, right, we have some serenity, some tranquility. We're up, we're awake. We found our peace, but only after coffee. Serenity. Next up, dire. Dire is an adjective. Dire, again, just 1 syllable, as we can see right here. And it's a sign of danger and calamity. Danger and calamity. A good synonym, this is a pretty tough word, ominous, right? It's a sign, something that is about to come, that is not good for us. The opposite of that would be favorable, right? Something that's favorable is good for you. Right? Favor, good fortune. Totally the opposite of dire, which is danger. Our example, Chandler's bike is in dire need of repair. It's all busted and broken. Right? If we were to get on this bike, or if Chandler was to get on this bike and try riding it, especially down a hill or something, not that he could probably even get that far, likely would just fall over and collapse. Right? This wheel looks pretty broken. It's all pretty rusted, might just fall apart as soon as he gets on it. So it's in dire need of repair, right? It's dangerous, really, to get on this bike. Dire. Next up, elusive. Elusive. Elusive, 2 syllables, adjective, difficult to find or capture, elusive, difficult to find or capture. A synonym, which is pretty similar here, is going to be evasive. Evasive and elusive, very similar. The opposite of that would be accessible. If you're accessible, someone can get in touch with you, they can contact you, they can interact with you. But if you're elusive, right, someone can't get in touch with you. You are inaccessible. The example here, my younger brother is elusive when it comes to helping me do chores. I usually have to do them by myself, right? So here we have a child, carrying a heavy load of laundry all by herself. The younger brother is elusive, right? Not accessible, not to be found when doing these chores. That's elusive. Next up, unwieldy. It's kind of hard to say. Unwieldy. Adjective, unwieldy. And the definition is difficult to carry or move due to size or shape. So note, it's not due to weight. It's not how heavy something is, but really it's just kind of awkward to carry, right? It's a strange shape. It's too large. That makes it unwieldy, right? Clunky is a good synonym. The opposite might be something like practical, right? It's practical to carry a box. It's impractical to carry a 100-foot-long pole. Even if it was really light, it would be clunky, not easy to carry. The example we have here, a bunch of balloons may be light, but they're pretty unwieldy to put into a car. If you've ever tried putting, 20 balloons or so into a car, they don't want to go in. Half of them are trying to shoot out to the left, the other half are going right. They're just expanding everywhere. It's really hard to get something unwieldy like balloons into your car. Unwieldy. Next up, successive. Adjective, successive. 3 syllables, successive. Definition, following one after another in order, right? It has this idea of order to it. Our synonym, consecutive, that really has a strong sense of order to it, one after the next. Really kind of without pause, without break, or just happening one after the next. A good antonym, or the opposite of successive, would be disorder, right? When something is disordered or unorganized, it's out of order, there's no succession to it. In our example, I refuse to watch shows that come out every week. I prefer to watch my Netflix successively, one after the other. Right? Love to binge watch. You wait till all your shows are out so you can successively watch them one after the next, rather than having to wait every single week to watch your next show. Successive. Next up, manifestation. Manifestation is a noun. Manifestation. Hard to say slowly. Manifestation. And it's a visible representation of an abstract thing or idea. Manifestation. We can think of it as an incarnation of something, or the opposite would be concealment, to conceal it, right? To hide it. Whereas manifestation is to bring it out and show it. Concealment is to hide it. Our example here, Odin's bank account was a manifestation of his hard work. So his bank account is manifesting or is visibly showing his hard work, right? So right here, Odin looks like he has a good amount of money. Maybe he's been working hard, got a new job, and his bank account has manifested that, is showing that. It's showing his hard work. Manifesting his hard work. Manifestation. Next up, adversary. Adversary is a noun. Adversary. Adversary. 4 syllables. Definition, an enemy or opponent. Enemy or opponent. Another synonym here is foe, right? Friend and foe. The antonym friend, someone that you're friends with, right? You like them, you want to hang out with them. Your foe is your enemy, right? They want to fight you, right? Our example, children should not have adversaries, but Harry Potter was not so lucky as to have a normal childhood, right? Children don't really have enemies. They don't have opponents. They don't have foes. But Harry Potter, when he was a child, spoiler alert, had an enemy, right? He had a foe. This guy right here, he who shall not be named, was his enemy, his foe, lifelong, since childhood. Adversary. Our last on the list is adept. Adept is an adjective. Adept, 2 syllables. Definition, having exceptional knowledge or skill. Exceptional knowledge or skill. Synonym would be expertly, someone who's an expert at something. Antonym, or the opposite of adept, would be inept, someone who's unskilled, who doesn't have deep or exceptional knowledge. Someone who is unskilled would be inept. Our example, Victor was an adept athlete who won a college scholarship for his tennis ability. So Victor here looks pretty good at tennis, right? Going to hit the ball back. Practicing tennis makes him an adept or skilled, knowledgeable, pro athlete. And we know this because he was good enough to win a scholarship for that ability. So he is adept. That's our last word on the list. Next up, for next week, we have vocabulary 10.3. These will be our 10 words. Retrospect, logistics, poignant, paradox, stipulates, prudent, vagaries, forbearing, reprehensible, and impertinent. Thank you for sticking around. Really appreciate it. Hope to see you next week. Take care.